Robin, I did get an email from Lynn to join tonight.
Okay. All righty. So we're ready to go. It's 6:30, and I would like to call this meeting to order. Someone move item 1.02.
Move it.
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections?
We made an addition just this afternoon. A little while ago, we added just a brief kickoff for our Brambleheart. Be very 30 seconds to a minute right before music in our schools, just to announce Brambleheart. It's not very long, right, Miss Witter? Right.
All right. And if there's no other additions or corrections, Mrs. Perry, I'm a yes.
Mr. DeJalore?
Yes.
Mr. Cordone?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Elmore?
Yes.
Anyone wishing to share a thought or ask a question is welcome to do so by emailing us at clerk@fulton.cnyric.org. And you may also find that email address on the district's webpage. Are there any questions about the items under President's Report, the upcoming meetings? And Mrs. Perry, did you need any, or you just want us to be thinking about the convention?
I think so. You know, think about it. I don't know how everybody feels about going to New York, but I guess we can start that discussion in a week or so. I didn't do any hotel reservations or any of that yet.
And I'm not sure if they're doing, I thought they might be doing both virtual opportunities as well. I don't know, though. I've got to really go do some reading.
Okay.
Unless any of my colleagues have read up on that. I know that was some of the conversation that they might offer both. Okay. And with that said, we're going to turn it over now to Superintendent Calvino.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody had the opportunity to enjoy some of the great weather. I had the opportunity to watch our soccer opener, our first half actually out there this evening. And I was talking to a few of our families and how amazing it is on March 23rd that I had a shirt and tie and no jacket, and everybody else, they were all enjoying the game in March. And happy to say we were up 1-0 at halftime. I don't know how it went, but it was a great way to start the year down there. And it was the first time on the complex field in competition, so in 2021. So it was great to see. First, this evening, we actually added Brambleheart right at the beginning. Today is the kickoff of our school-wide or district-wide book. So Ms. Witter, if you just want to kick us off this evening.
Yes, we are very excited. We were able to announce the author and the title yesterday. Our special area teams actually rolled that out. I spoke to some of them today. They said actually when they were on the calls with students yesterday, some of the students were waiting for their delivery so that they could get their book and their other things for the month. So that was neat. And then today, our in-person teachers rolled out the kickoff video and the title, and each of those students received their book in person. So I'll be a little longer than 1 minute, but not too much longer. Mr. Lisi is going to show us the 2-minute author video that he prepared for us.
Very well. Mr. Lisi, do we have sound?
Are we not hearing the video?
We are not hearing the video, sir.
Okay. Mr. Carroll, do you have the link, as it might be better from your end?
I do. I'll give it a try. Unfortunately, as we know, sometimes the sound doesn't come through so well through the Google Meet, because it's kind of taken the extended route through the Google Meet and then through YouTube. Let's give it a shot, though.
So, Mr. Lisi, you'll stop presenting? Yep, there you go.
And if we can't hear him, actually, thanks to Mr. Wilson, who's also on the call, that video just launched on our Facebook page. So if we cannot see it here, you can see that on the district Facebook page. Mr. Cole was nice enough to record that for us and all of our students. He gave us permission to release it on social media. And we were very lucky to be able to secure him to do some author visits at the end of April. So each of our grade levels will be able to sort of meet him virtually. See if it works.
Actually, I learned a tip from one of our teachers after our last board meeting that if we all mute ourselves within the meet, that might help with the video quality. So we'll give that a shot. Thanks, Mrs. Phillips, for that tip, if you're watching.
Hey, everyone. My name is Henry Cole. I am the author and illustrator of Brambleheart, which I think you'll be reading soon. I did the pictures and I did the words on the inside. Also, to the sequel, Bayberry Island. My favorite thing to do is to draw. So I thought today I'd give you something special. I'm gonna draw the main character. There's a little chipmunk named Twig. Here's the cover illustration that I did here. Several black and white pencil interior drawings that I did. But you know, when I'm here in my studio, my favorite thing to do is to draw while listening to music. So today I brought a piece of music that I really love. So I'm going to draw Twig, the main character, while we listen to this wonderful piece of music. Ready? Here we go. Oh, I love that. Oh, I also want to remind you there's going to be a special event, an evening with Henry Cole. Actually, there's going to be an evening with Henry Cole on April 15th, I believe it is, and also Saturday during the day, during the afternoon on April 17th that I hope you can attend. And also, I'll be visiting with all of your schools virtually during the month of April, so that'll be fun too. I can't wait to see you again, and thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
So that is Mr. Cole, sort of an unintended positive of COVID. He's home in Florida, not traveling. He's working with, I think, 2 other schools right now, but we were able to get on a meet with him last week. He's very funny, and he was very open to do anything that we, wanted him to do. So he'll be visiting during Parent University the week of the 12th, as he mentioned, and then he'll be with us the end of the month to visit with classrooms and with online students. So we are very excited about the rollout. So far, we've just had a lot of excitement all the way around, online students and in-person students.
Mrs. Witter, I'm very excited and thank you for all your work to make this happen. I know it takes a lot of effort.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And everybody received one, right? Wasn't that we did that a while back, right? Makes you want to go home and start reading, right?
Yes, and there is a calendar, and that will be posted tomorrow. So make sure you keep up. You want to be able to answer the trivia questions.
All righty. Well, very good. Thank you, Miss Witter, and thank you for all the work and looking forward to, I actually walked into Volney today and one of the third grade classrooms was actually reading the first chapter. They were actually just opening the book and just starting to read the parts of it. So it's kind of fun to actually be there. So the kids, I said, I'm going to be reading that too. So I'm sure when I walk past that classroom or walk in, they're going to ask me about it. So I'm going to do that. So thank you. Great way to kick off our evening.
Thank you. Have a wonderful meeting.
Thank you. Right, music in our schools. Kind of, we got some music in that first presentation. I'm going to hand it to Mr. Carroll and Miss Almeter for music in our schools.
That was
Thank
actually a perfect segue because I love the fact that he's literature is another great love of mine, but I love the connection between art and music. That's something that we're actually getting the opportunity to do at the junior high. One of the nice side effects of COVID is that I'm sharing a teaching bell with Mr. Wink. So art and music, that pairing is something that we are working on that we don't usually get to do. So that's a perfect segue to the second week of Music in Our Schools month. My comments will be very brief because I would like to let our students speak and play and sing for you. This evening, you will see a video, and thank you, Mr. Carroll. That seemed to go a little better, so hopefully if everybody mutes themselves, we'll be able to hear. Fingers crossed. I know we can, Mrs. Perry has the video, so if something doesn't go well with the video, we can make sure everyone gets the link and can watch it on their own. What you're seeing this evening are high school students, and they are all seniors at GRB, some of which are going on into music, and they have music to share with you, as well as some thoughts about what the program has meant to them. So that is really nice. And I just wanted to, just a couple quick things. The level of achievement that you're going to see on the video tonight really speaks to a culmination of a comprehensive K through 12 music program that we are very, very proud of. That supports all of our students, and it certainly takes the support also of families, the community, the board, everyone who works in our school to make the program what it is. And it starts very young. It starts many times in pre-K, and we're very proud of that contribution. And what you're seeing today is really the end game of that for us. And you're seeing students who have been part of our program in many, many different ways and in many different avenues. And we're incredibly proud of them. I want to also give some special credit to some students that, you know, with COVID kind of got a bum rap. We had several students make All-State this year. And of course, they did not get to go and do a typical All-State experience. They did to have a virtual program. But special congratulations to Sydney Bradshaw, Anthony Lucas, and Olivia Hawthorne was an alternate. So very big deal to make Conference All-State. We also had several students who were chosen to participate in the New York State Band Directors Association Festival, which again was a virtual festival this year. Olivia Hawthorne, Jasmine Fowler, and Jessica LePage. So a special thanks tonight to our high school teachers, Terry Cavanis, Anna Adele, and Therese Logvis. But of course, nothing that happens at the high school would be possible without the work of our students and our staff all the way through. So a huge thank you to our music staff always. We always want to celebrate our students and our music staff during March, but this year's been a tough one. So we are so looking forward to getting back to 100% opportunity for our music programs. We can't wait to be able to open things up again and offer everything that we have because it's a great program. And we are missing our students. We're enjoying the fact that in a lot of pockets now we are seeing students in person, and that's a little bit more every week. So that is great for our kids. It's great for our program, and we're just looking forward to getting back to normal. Special thanks also to Mr. Wilson for helping put these videos together. So please enjoy. Again, I hope this one, if everyone could mute, we'll hope that this one comes out okay. If not, I'm sure that we can get this link posted for you so that you can enjoy it. Mr. Carroll, I'll let that be your call on how our quality is, because this one is this is about 8 minutes.
Mr. Carroll, you're muted.
That would help. I'm sorry. I just noticed that, yes, Mr. Lisi has agreed to post the videos on the website as well, so that hopefully they'll look and sound great right now, but they'll be there for everyone to enjoy afterwards as well. So please do mute.
Mr. Carroll, we don't have sound.
A wrong decision can be the beginning or an end to a way of life, or possibly even a dream. Hello, my name is Jasmine Fowler. I am currently a senior, and I have just committed to SUNY Fredonia School of Music to major in music performance with a flute concentration. This is the reason why I'm pursuing music as a professional career and what it means to me. In the 8th grade, I nearly ended my music career by not competing in NISMA. This decision would have left an empty hole in my life. With the help of Miss Foster, my band teacher, her encouragement and support helped me find my passion so I could continue on my musical journey. I am now a flutist who has joyously played for 8 years, and I look forward to many more. Music is my life's passion as well as a lifetime hobby, and is the longest course of study I have ever undertaken. Music has always been the spark of my intellectual curiosity. I developed my capacity to think creatively around problems due to the infinite possibilities of music. Music has become the educator that has taught me the importance of leadership, teamwork, and friendship. It has also taught me the importance of order and balance. With improvement and balance comes success, and music has taught me all of these virtues. My haven for solace in and away from home is in the world of composers, harmonies, and possibilities. It has shaped my character, and without it, my life would not be half as wonderful as it is today. It was a wise decision to compete in NISMA. The wonderful journey known as music in my life excites my mind every day and makes my heart sing. I love that I still have much to learn, and I hope to keep doing what I love, not only as a passion and hobby, but as a career.
Hi, I'm Anthony, and band is important to me because I got to interact with people all over the state and interact with teachers all over the state. It was also fun because I got to go to different competitions and play for different schools and get judged and graded based on our performance.
Mr. Carroll, could you mute yourself also?
Look at this stuff.
No, Mr. Carroll, you have to keep your mic on, otherwise it'll mute the sound entirely.
How many wonders can one camera hold? Looking around, you think, sure, she's got everything. I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got poses and what's in are. You don't think about? I've got 20, but who cares? No big deal. I want more. I wanna be with people. I wanna see them dancing on my nose. What do you call it? Oh, beach. Threading your finger too far. Legs are required for jumping, dancing strong. Let's stop. What again? Straight. I'm where they walk. I'm where they run. I'm where they stay all day in the sun. Wandering free. Wish I could be part of it. What would I give if I could live with these words? What would I pay to spend a day one understand? I bet you on land they understand, and they don't let their daughters dragging women like a swimming ready to stand. I love to feel low, asking my questions and get some answers. What's a fire? Why does it feel so good? Burn. It's my turn. You line up. You have to explore the shore above. I don't see the shine I could be part of you. Hi, I'm Olivia Hawthorne. In the fall, I'm going to be going to college for music performance. And the music department at GRB means a whole lot to me. It's just a great community of friends and teachers who can help me with whatever I need. And it's really helped me grow as a person and learn what I really love, and I get to do what I love. It's really just been a great impact on my life.
So I highly encourage you to check that out. When with better sound quality, the kids did a great job. All but one of those performances was student recorded in their own home. And it's really a testament to the kids making it work. I love that we saw some pets in the background while they were singing and playing, and that they've really just tried to find a way to still make their art and make their music, and was very proud of the students that stepped forward to share. So please do check that out on your own when the link will play. The sound quality is really quite good when it's just you. I'm really very proud to be able to bring a diverse sampling of what's going on in our music program right now. We are missing each other terribly. We're missing making music normally. We can't wait to get back to it. We thank you for letting us celebrate Music in Our Schools Month any way that we can. And we certainly hope that next March we are playing and singing and speaking with you in person.
Thank you, Mrs. Elmeter, and I can vouch for the quality of the video and the outstanding quality of the performances. I feel a little guilty being the presenter. I was able to get the full quality of the video and the sound, and unfortunately, it's just not coming through the virtual meeting. But they are outstanding, and it really is endearing seeing the performances from our students' homes. Fantastic work. So please do check those links out on the video. It's worth your time. Great job to the kids. Great job to our music staff, and thanks, Mrs. Almeida, for bringing it to the meeting.
Thank you for your time. Happy
Well,
to be
thank
here.
you. Thank you so much, Ms. Almeida, and the entire team and all of our kids. It's amazing watching what we can do, and looking forward to getting everybody back as soon as possible, enjoying one another. And you're starting to see little bits and pieces as we are opening up, and there's great opportunity. I see more and more kids arriving actually each day out here with instruments being dropped off. So I notice, we see it. It's slowly coming through. So we're getting there. And thank you so much for all that you do and the entire team. Greatly appreciated. So thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Els, I only have 9 bubbles on my screen this evening, so I think I saw you're here, Mr. Els. You want to talk about our winter athletics?
Yes, I'm right here. I'm
All
excited to come in and chat about our winter sports and what we have rolling right now. So first of all, we had our winter sports teams, which we had 5 of those teams, 5 of the 7 teams qualified for the New York State Scholar Athletes. Those 5 teams were girls and boys basketball, boys swimming, and girls and boys bowling. And out of all of our athletes, we had 73% of our athletes, out of all the varsity athletes, 73% had an 85 or higher GPA for the second quarter. So that was great to see, not only them excelling on the athletic fields or athletic arenas, but also in the classroom. Our winter sports, we got a really late start. We didn't start until February 1st for most of the sports, and January 19th for a couple of the others. But we had 144 athletes competing in the winter sports. As Mr. Polvino said earlier, we started our soccer season today with our fall 2 sports. We had our first volleyball game yesterday. Our varsity and JV volleyball game was here at GRB. So we had that yesterday, and we also had a football scrimmage. JV and varsity football traveled to FM for our first scrimmage of the year. And we have over 300 athletes competing in fall 2 sports. And remember, 8 weeks ago, we didn't even know if we were going to have sports. And now we have 300 students signed up. Thankfully, the weather broke early. Sun came out. We were able to get our turf cleared without using any expensive machinery or doing any kind of damage to our field. So we're able to get that cleared mostly just by Mother Nature, just warming up and clearing that field off. So we were able to get out there. There's some chilly nights as kids are practicing past 7 p.m. But they're out there, and I think they have a smile on, even though they have the mask on. So this is kind of one of the questions that is coming up over and over again. That's probably dominating my phone calls at spectators at events. We are allowed by DOH 2 spectators per athlete, and that goes for any of our outdoor sports, home or away. So we're allowed 2 spectators in our outdoor contest per athlete. So we have somebody there checking off names. We do a screening. We have a QR code set up at our ticket booth. We're not charging, but there's a QR code there. There's also a QR code when people walk in, and they're able to fill in their screenings or health screenings right there before they even get to the contest or before they even enter the door. So we're allowed 2 spectators, home and away. For volleyball, we're allowed 2 home spectators only. Again, that is a DOH requirement. And unfortunately, we did have an email go out today that went out to our modified volleyball parents that was sent out in error. We are not able to host any of our parents, spectators at our modified volleyball, and that is due to the size of the gym that we play in. We barely have enough to fit our team in there. So unfortunately, we can't pull any of the bleachers out to allow our parent spectators. So we will be live streaming those events. The volleyball streaming is really well, works really well. So we should be, at least that is something for our parents there. But unfortunately, we'll not be able to have our parents for modified volleyball. Right now, we have our football, cheer, girls and boys soccer, girls and boys cross country, and girls tennis. Those are all the teams that are competing right now. The season will end on approximately around April 23rd, 24th, with our spring sports starting up the 19th of April. The schedules, I can attest, they are a mess. They are changing every single day. There are teams that are dropping, teams that are adding. We had some games scheduled with a Jefferson County school that had clearance, and then they pulled the clearance today. So we just lost 6 contests that were scheduled. So unfortunately, our schedules are ever changing. And that's, I keep telling our coaches, I tell our athletes, I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your understanding. And this is a year that's, we didn't think we were going to have it all. So this is better than nothing. We scheduled more games today. We lost games today. We scheduled games. So we're working on the schedules, but again, they're ever changing. We're trying to update our webpage as quickly as possible on Schedule Galaxy to be able to, keep people informed. And then last but not least, our spring sports signups, which starts off on April 19th. Those signups will be going up by the end of the week. So kids will be able to sign up for their spring sports. And we are having a normal spring season. It's an 8-week season, 7 to 8 week season for our spring sports. And there are plans for a postseason sectional. There are no states, but there is plans for a postseason sectional competition, which is a regional competition against our size schools.
Mr. Els, I have one question.
Yes, you bet.
Are we following up with our modified volleyball parents that was an error?
Yes. As soon as I realized that was an error, I sent a message to our coaches. That message went out about 6:15 tonight, and they'll be following up with our parents. And I apologize for the confusion, but it was they were not supposed to be included, and it got sent to all coaches for our fall 2 sports. So
thank you very much. I just wanted to double check to make sure that, because it would be awful if they showed up tomorrow and we're.
Oh my goodness, that'd be terrible.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're on.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Els. I mean, it was when I heard last week we had so many scholar athletes and teams. It was just like, not only were hitting on cylinders on the courts for the first time in a long time, but also in the classroom. It just showed, and our kids have said that it was, for some, it was the motivator. It was so on and so forth. So it was just good to see that come together for so many kids. I was chatting with a parent out here in the parking lot this afternoon, and we're watching a couple of practices going on, and how much of a difference it's making for their children to be re-engaged. And he goes, it's not about the competition. It was about just watching the kids and just watching them interact. And we kind of stood there socially distanced and watched that for a few minutes and chatted. And it was great to see. So it's definitely, it's part of our getting things back to normal and more opportunities. So it was great to see that today. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you. All your work with that other pandemic thing that we're working on. You've done a really good job with that throughout the course of the winter, and hopefully we'll keep evolving with that. We continue to monitor all of the guidance very closely. Chris is looking at each and every day to see what comes out next, and that's truly evolving as well. So again, thank you for all your work in both domains throughout the course of this year.
You bet.
All righty. Next this evening, and I'll try to show, put that up here on the present now. The calendar you'll be seeing this evening, I'll be ratifying, hopefully, if you have any questions, but I want to put it up on the screen. Hopefully I'll have no errors here. Dom, as always, I ask you, can you see that? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? All right. The calendar you're going to be looking at we'll take option A off of there. There was 2 that we were looking at. the calendar that's being proposed to you this evening. We have a professional development / orientation day on September 2nd with a superintendent's cut day on the 7th. The purpose of that is really to make sure we're ready to roll with our kids who will be coming on the first day on the 8th. And then you can see other parts of the calendar. There'll be 3 days in November, the day before Thanksgiving, and then Thanksgiving the day after. December break is the 24th through the 31st with a return on January 3rd. February break this year and President's Week is February 21st. And then you fast forward a little bit further into April, a little bit more traditional time next year, about 2 weeks later than this year, next week being the break. That break will be the 11th through the 15th. If you then fast forward into June, we do have Juneteenth built in. That is observed this year because it's on a Saturday. It's not built into the schedule. However, in the 21-22 calendar, that is recognized. So we have built that into the calendar for next year. And so we have our 186-day calendar for your perusal this evening. Is there any questions with respect to this calendar?
Yeah, how many snow days are built in?
So we always have 5 that are always built into the calendar. So yeah, we have 5 emergency closings at the bottom. In the fine print down there at the bottom, it also explains how we go backwards in the event we end up using 5 or a certain number. It actually then displays how we would work backwards in gaining days back.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions with respect to the calendar? All righty. Since I'm already driving, we'll just try to do this. So Dom, I probably shouldn't go into mode because last time I did this, I lost the screen. So can everybody see it this way, or do you want me to try to adjust? All right, here we go. All right, so we tried this time to really weave to the budget and the strategic coherence plan together a bit. So just to kind of tell our story to this point in the year, we always remind ourselves, and I won't go through them this evening, but our vision, mission, beliefs, and guiding principles. Then we developed a set of budget parameters in December. And then we've had a series of reports in the area of budget to this point. We've done enrollment and staffing that was done on February 9th. We reviewed the property tax cap on the February 23rd meeting. We did our preliminary roll forward budget on February 23rd. We did a revenue estimates at 0%, 1%, 2%, and our maximum of 3.04% on the 23rd. So that gave us an idea of the revenues we may be working with. And again, that's based on the executive's budget. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Pie chart revenue distribution and tax rate. We went through that on March 9th. So that's kind of where we've been so far. And then here's our mission and vision, and I'm not going to go through them. Our beliefs, our guiding principles that come to the center of all our work. Some of the things that have gone on, and this is the slide around New York State Senate, New York Assembly, have introduced their own state budget priorities and formal reactions to the governor's executive proposal. These are called the One House budgets. I've shared information as it's come in from New York State. But what's interesting is that they're very similar in many ways, which is a great starting point. One of the key points is that both of the proposals would significantly increase statewide school aid levels up to $29.5 billion for 21 and 22. That would be about $3.1 billion higher than the executive proposed in January. This is a very important number for us. This is the number that goes directly to our foundation aid. And this is an important piece because right now, the way the executive budget came out in January, if you recall, just about $4 million, just over $4 million was taken out of our budget coffers through STAR and other different types of things that he did. Foundation aid was kept flat. And then $4.1 million was placed in there. And that really covered 21, 22, and 22, 23. So in other words, when that goes away, there's still the gap. If this statewide school aid level goes in at this $29.5 billion, that really helps to ensure that there's not as much of a fiscal cliff in the next couple of years. So this is an important one for us. Transportation costs would be aidable. That's an important one for all of districts in New York State. The fund balance is another one where right now, if you recall, that's at 4% by statute. The Assembly is looking at 6% and the Senate is looking at 8%. And that is Senator Mayer's, one of her primary focus areas, and it's over 5 years. So that would be a good thing, because as we're getting all these federal funds into our district, we can really look at how do we maximize those funds and really try to project out longer to maintain our reserves and fund balance at the highest levels, not knowing what state budgets are going to look like in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So it's important for us. Pre-kindergarten, there's funding there. Digital equity, there's funding. And the building and transportation aid forgiveness bills are in there for, I believe, the 4th time. Again, so once again, we hope that that goes through, but we know each year that that's been part of the negotiation process and has come out. Also, they introduced their own pieces here. The next page. This is where they reject a number of the executive proposals. And that first one, I was able to quantify for you. And that's the consolidation of expense-based aids. This is very important. So this is transportation aid, BOCES aid, all those different aid lines. Right now, they've always been separate. And we get our aid back differently. So for transportation, it's almost 90%. And for BOCES aid, I believe, Kathy, it's around 85%. So when you look at that, that's important. When you lump them all together, we actually lose $416,000. So it's important that the consolidation of expense-based aids is rejected. And I hope that is actually taken out of the budget in the end. That would drive $416,000 approximately back to the Fulton City School District. That's a significant number for us. The creation of the local district fund adjustment, or STAR, they want to take that out. They want to remove that and reject that, and also the elimination of prior year adjustments. So those are important pieces that we hope are rejected and taken out. We did receive, and you may have received questions, we received through Senator Schumer's office, just in an email, and I also saw it in the news, that the anticipated amount of revenues allocated to the Fulton City School District is $11,317,000. That's a great number. The question is, what does that number mean? What we don't know is if those numbers are what's going to be received or kept by the state. They keep talking about maintenance of effort. How much money can be reserved? So the real question is, how much money will actually be available to us as a district? We know that 20% of that has to be directed toward addressing the gap. That was clear. We've kind of figured that piece out. We've received very little, if any, other than this number, guidance at all. So we're hoping that when the state final budget comes out, hopefully on time, March 31st, at the latest April 1st, then we'll get some idea of what the parameters are associated with these dollars.
Brian,
Yes, go ahead, Robin.
When you refer to the gap, you're talking about the learning gap, correct?
Correct. I'm sorry. Yes. Social, emotional, academic gaps in learning. Yes.
And what will quantify that, Brian?
Right. Right now, we don't know what the parameters are at all, what that definition is, or any guidance with respect to that. I do know, I went back and I looked at, there had been a document that came out about a week before that just identified what they thought at that point, which was going to be the preliminary. And at that point, we had almost $12 million. So within 1 week, that federal stimulus changed by 600,000. But in that document, it did allocate and indicate that we had to put 20% aside for that gap. But again, no definitions. I can't wait to find out what they are. I have my ideas what I think they should be. But again, we've gotten no guidance, and that's a bit frustrating because, but at the same time, I am thrilled that kind of number. And I will tell you that I think it's the 3rd highest in the region. And when I say region, the entire 3 to 5 counties. We're behind Syracuse City and Utica, and then there was Fulton. So, I mean, to see that, and Oswego is very close to us as well. So, but I think it really shows that this money seems to have been driven based on high needs, low wealth, and our combined wealth ratio. That's what it appears to be. So Yeah, we're pleased by that. The question will be how much money do we actually have to work with? And the bigger question is how can that be spread out? Is it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Those are important pieces. Once we have that information, we can then give information to the board so that you can make informed decisions as we move forward in the budget process.
Brian, could you also explain what the local district funding adjustment cut, what that is actually? I don't know that everyone knows what that means.
Yeah, Ms. Nichols, you explain that better than I do. So could you explain that? We discussed it yesterday and you do it much more eloquently than I can.
Thank you. Basically, when the governor put together his proposal, he included, as part of state aid, he included the STAR reimbursement, which is really part of our levy. As you know, the state just pays a piece of it. So they added that in and then did a local district adjustment, basically backing that full dollar amount out, and then filled it with the federal dollars. So basically state aid, the effort from the state remained flat, and any increases that we experience are as a result of just the federal money coming to us.
So our STAR allocation, Kathy.
Is that also because the federal stimulus money cannot be used for tax rebate, and STAR would be in that category? Is that?
I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think because STAR is never included as part of state aid. I think it was just a way of demonstrating perhaps that the state, I don't want to put too much of my opinion in here.
I think the federal stimulus bill that passed wouldn't allow states to give taxpayers rebate or to be used to decrease their taxes. And that's kind of what STAR does, right? Isn't that kind of...
Basically, we have a levy amount and part of it is paid by the state.
I would agree with David. That's what I'm reading. The maintenance of effort can't decrease.
Right, and that's the question that keeps coming up is like, how much will the state retain around the maintenance of effort? That's really the big question that I have. That's one of those main questions. So essentially, out of our $21 million in our tax levy, the combination about $4 million was STAR, correct, Kathy?
Just about, this year it's about 3.8 million.
Yeah. So, and if you look at the January run from the executive, it was I believe just about $4.2 million.
Right. And again, Brian, on top of the addressing the learning gap concerns, there's been conversation. They're also going to expect a certain amount of the monies to improve where there's improvement needed for infrastructure related to air quality, and to help with the COVID, so that we're better positioned for healthier classroom.
Yep. So that's why all those parameters, those are all those things that we don't know. But right, they've talked a lot about those things. And I think different states have experienced COVID differently economically. And, so that's another piece where, one state may be able to channel monies that way more. Here, we've had some different types of fiscal impacts. So I think it's going to be, that's why it's so important once we see the actual parameters associated with each of these types of dollars and what's the final budgets look like and such, then we can really go to work and figure out how we can maximize every dollar. This is going to be an important time that we maximize, as we always do, but every dollar we're going to really have to think about, and how do we stretch those dollars over time as much as possible as well. So it's not only this year's budget, but we're trying to think at least 3 to 4 years ahead, which is difficult.
Brian, is there any indication from state ed as to when they'll give that guidance for how that 20% can be used and dedicated to closing academic and SEL gaps, performance gaps?
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I've been watching all of the different groups, the different experts. Nothing yet. Everybody's waiting to get the more specifics. I've not seen those as of yet. There's interpretations, But again, until we get the actuals, then we can go from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So and we just talked about the New York State and the maintenance of effort, put that there. I will say thank you to the board for supporting a budget committee. It's the first one we've had this year, in years since I've been here, I should say. And I think it's been good. We've had agendas, materials that have been shared with the board. They're posted on our website. At the last meeting though, and I shared with you all of them, but we actually at the last budget committee, which was last week, we asked these two questions. So the first one was, what are the top 3 questions that members of our community need answered regarding the school district budget? We broke into small groups that evening, and these were 3 of the questions that came up that evening from each of the groups. And I did share with you, and it is on the website, all of the questions that were generated by each of the brainstorming groups. But you can see these are the things that are representatives from the community. These are the things that were on their minds. So how will the district budget priorities address any learning gaps that have resulted from the pandemic? What is the associated why or rationale for that priority? And they wanted to make sure that we were clear, that we're clear with our story and very clear about why we're making the decisions. Federal revenues are one-time allocations. Therefore, will there be a fiscal cliff in the future? And what's our long-term plan for sustainability and capacity? So, it's very clear that, they're representing the community well. These are great questions. And what we'll try to do is over the coming weeks, address these questions when we're putting together and presenting our budget to our board and then our budget forum and to our community. And then what was the actual financial impact of the pandemic on the district finances? That there are misconceptions out there that we saved money. And can we make pandemic costs public? And we've been trying to do that. And I was thinking, now that I just read that, we should have done that. That's a question that one of our board members often asks me. And I'm not sure we brought that to it. We don't have it here this evening, but we will get that out there. The other question that we asked them was, what questions do we need to explore for strategic long-term budget planning? Examples include, and the three of the ones were, are we exploring more opportunities for shared services for operations and instructional and social emotional supports? How will we sustain our fiscal stability if federal funding is eliminated or reduced? What replaces that funding? Are there additional revenues? What efficiencies need to be explored to reduce spending? And then does the district have plans to explore or study opportunities for organizational efficiency? So there was some great conversation with that. And definitely this group, they are very much in tune. I think it was great conversation. I enjoyed my small group that I was in. I was debriefing with my team after. Each of the small groups had very rich conversations. So looking forward, and their next meeting is April 8th. So I just wanted to share that, and that this was probably one of the more powerful conversations because it's going to help us frame really, what do people want to know, and how can we make sure that the information is clear and in a way that people can make informed decisions when it comes to making their decision about the budget, and hopefully everybody supporting that down the road. Any questions about things to that point? That's really the newest information we have. Next Wednesday is a big day, hopefully, and we'll get some information. Just want to come back and share some celebrations because our strategic coherence plan really is at the center of everything that we do. And so I remind us what coherence is. It's really about making sense of things, sticking together, connecting. It requires consistency of purpose and practice and shared commitment. And we're really starting to reap the benefits. We saw some things before COVID. I think we've also seen some things as we've gone through COVID. Just a reminder, this is a slide you've seen before. It really outlines those key strategic intents in our 6 areas from leadership to innovation. And we wanted to have some celebrations, what we've accomplished. So in that leadership area, we've been working on that long-term fiscal health. We've had a great deal of success. We've built up our revenues and our unrestricted fund balance. We're looking good in those areas, as good as you can look going into these. We've also we have a communication plan, and I think our communication is better now than it's ever been. It's always evolving, but we do have a communication plan, which we shared with the board in the past, that was developed by a strategic coherence planning team. So that was powerful. So I think we're doing some good work. over time. So just wanted to share, we've got our Fulton in Touch, we've got our application that's going on. We've been doing our Facebook, we've been doing more videos, although I haven't done one, I was realizing recently. So we're thinking about doing one this week as we go into the break week. And then I want to turn it over and we'll go quick just through each area. I know this is an older slide, but Dan, do you want to talk a little bit about this? Because this is how exciting and close we were right before the pandemic.
Sure. Thank you. I get really excited about this slide. I know I know that I'm the data dork in the room at times, but you don't need to be a statistics person to know that green is good, and that moving from not so much green to a whole bunch of green within a year is a great thing. So what you see here in the pies are what was going on in first grade literacy in the first half of last year, just before pandemic hit us. This was, I'm not exaggerating, this was a moment of high fives and chills as we looked at our mid-year data and realized, holy cow, this Oswego County Literacy Initiative is working as planned. Mrs. Witter, who we saw earlier, our literacy director, and I looked class by class at each K through 2 data and saw how our teachers were able to move students from, those red chunks, which indicate being below benchmark, to much wider green chunks at the middle, which indicate being on benchmark. And so we were at the point where we could really see that at this rate, we're well ahead of being able to have our all of our K2 students at benchmark by the end of the year. We were able to count the 1 or 2 or 3 students in each class who would end up needing intensive intervention, but these are really manageable numbers, numbers that we could really practically address to reach that strategic coherence plan goal of having all students reading at grade level by 3rd grade.
Yeah.
So yep. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No, I was just going to say we've learned a lot,
Yeah.
to that point, and that's how close we were, I think, to seeing something absolutely amazing happening. We've had a little bit of a slide, obviously, with everything going on, but this is one of those pieces where we've learned something and we're actually seeing those conversations, Dan. We're still hearing that knowledge and skills. We're seeing it.
Absolutely. So the initiative has worked. The initiative continues to work, and when we are back to full strength in all ways, we're really excited to see that kind of growth continue, which is why from a budget standpoint, it's so important that we remain committed to the Oswego County Literacy Initiative and to supporting the resources necessary to fully implement our multi-tiered system of supports.
And it goes to your point, I believe it was Robin that talked about the gaps. We learned something. We know how to improve reading. We had figured that out. We're onto something here. So we want to make sure that we don't lose a beat. We want to make sure that when we're looking at getting geared up and that we can close those gaps for any kids as quickly as possible. And we've learned a lot, and we're going to be able to build on this in a major way. So, in some ways, I don't think we've slid as far, and I hate to talk that way, as we could have had we not had things in place. But again, I'm looking forward to re-engaging fully on this because we were onto something, and the support of this board and this being in this plan was key. But we learned something about literacy, and our teachers took the knowledge and skills and they took it to a different level, and very proud of them with that. So I'm looking forward to getting back, and we will replicate and build on what we learned so we can close that gap as quickly as possible for any and all kids. Sorry about that, Dan, but I wanted to add that in there.
Sure.
And on instruction?
Yeah, and similarly in instruction, through the SCP efforts, we have developed an instructional priorities task force that really researches observable observable behaviors of engaging instruction, and develops resources in relation to professionally developing in relation to them, a process of walkthroughs, instructional walkthroughs exist to check on our progress in relation to really embedding those within our practice in every classroom. And we tried to convey through the image here that this is interrelated with our commitment to instructional coaching, that these things go hand in hand. Having a highly qualified team of instructional coaches brings to the classroom that on-site support, which any kind of research in relation to what works in professional development shows us, that personalized coaching is what builds development and really builds success of an initiative in a school. So, we hope to the extent possible, our goal is always to continue offering as much instructional coaching as we can support.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Geithner, you and I didn't touch base before the meeting, but would you like to speak to social emotional developmental health?
Absolutely. An opportunity to celebrate the progress that we've made in this area, particularly around our goal in the strategic coherence plan of implementing social emotional learning that is evidence-based in our programs pre-K through 12. And so what you're seeing in the image of our celebration is the results of the BIMIS assessment that we've conducted. And that particular look is at how our students perform against those social emotional competencies that are the core elements of the New York State SEL benchmarks. So this system and structure that we have put in place and that our staff, support staff, and instructional staff have really embraced and have run with is yielding favorable results for our students who are beginning to develop and master those skills in the New York State benchmarks. So as we look ahead to what comes next, our priorities are really to maintain our multi-tiered system of support. So when we're looking at students who might be struggling with specific skills or competencies, that we have an intervention framework that can help them and help them close any gaps that they may have and develop those skills effectively. And also to continue to support our staff and build their capacity for social emotional learning, our trauma sensitive practices, and moving ahead into culturally responsive and restorative practices that we are also really excited about adding to our framework. I'm also going to speak to family engagement because our celebration is something that's near and dear to my heart and the work of a lot of hands over the years. If it weren't for COVID, we'd be going on our 7th annual Parent University, but since we had to skip the 6th, I'm not really sure how we count this accurately. So, or if we can call it annual anymore, but I think we're going to go with it. So our virtual Parent University this year will be our officially 6th annual Parent University. And that is just an example of our family engagement strategies. And what we really look to do as we move ahead in our budget priorities is how do we continue to evolve systems that are responsive to the needs of our families? And I think the virtual Parent University that Liz Tiffany presented to you at our last meeting is one of those ways. How can we present information in multiple formats available at various times throughout the day that doesn't require necessarily showing up and attending a specific event or volunteering for a specific thing, but becoming engaged with our academic program and our social emotional programs in a way that works best for your family and their needs. So that is where we're focused next.
And then finally, the final area of our strategic plan, our coherence plan. Dom, do you want to speak a little bit to innovation, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So despite the fact that we still seem challenged in streaming live video through video, we as a learning community can still take great pride in the fact that we were well prepared going into the pandemic with our digital learning initiatives. And I think that's something that we that has been tremendous for the community. I just want to share with you, there's some data there from New York State. Those are results from the New York State Digital Equity Survey that was conducted with all of the districts throughout the state. And as you can see, to date, 8% of students did not have access to a device through the pandemic. And as we're proud to show you, 100% of our students not only had access to a device, but also had access to an adequate internet connection. And that's a result of our sustained support for the DLI and the one-to-one initiative. Also, the second part of our commitment was to assure the effective use of district systems and personnel to maximize productivity. And just to point out one of the areas there, we are again looking at transportation and maximizing the systems for that, again, to be as efficient as we can. So those are just two of the areas that we're proud of at this point.
So are there any questions? We just wanted to highlight, we talked about the budget parameters that we established in December, and they were very aligned to the strategic coherence plan. And we wanted to come back and identify some of those areas, but there's not a day that doesn't go by where we don't say it's in the strategic coherence plan, or how does it support the strategic coherence plan? And I think it's definitely the rudder that we need to keep deep, and it keeps us centered. And it's so interesting, and it's a testament, I think, to the plan, that it was applicable pre what we've just experienced and during, and it's going to be applicable to post. What that is to me is, it seems to be a plan that has that flexibility and fluidity that we need to address needs. And I think that's what makes a plan powerful. And you've seen just some of the things that have been accomplished, or that set the framework and the foundation for the work ahead. So again, we hadn't done this in a while, and I thought it was important that we identified at least one. There's many things in each of those areas, but those were really the key, the one that really popped in each of the areas. Are there any questions or thoughts or on the presentation this evening?
I would just like to add, Brian, that representative on this committee, the Strategic Coherence Committee, for all of the hours that went in for every person that functioned in those committee, the big committee and then the smaller committees, the payoff was how well we did with this COVID. We didn't anticipate it, but a lot of conversation, meaningful, as you say, rich conversation occurred in those committees. Mm-hmm. And a lot of great plans were put together that positioned us. And I can't say enough how much I appreciate having a plan in place and how important they are for achievement and moving things forward.
Thank you. Alrighty, any other questions? Or again, thank you for the support. A lot of times strategic plans get put together, but and they don't come to fruition. And I was a part of some of those in the past. You got off the list or whatever the case may be. A list didn't drive this. Effort, focus, and energy drove this one, and a commitment to long term. And I think that's why we're experiencing some success. And we wouldn't be there if we didn't have a board that supported us. So thank you for that. The other piece this evening, Kathy and Dom, I've put up the general financial summary for the period ending February 28th. If you'd like to address with key highlights, please.
Certainly. This is financial highlights from using CAP information on Forecast 5 through the year-to-date through the end of February. And again, it compares, on the left, you have the prior year through February, and then on the left, the current year. So really the high points at this point in time is we are, on our revenues, we're probably close to being on budget, not expecting any real surprises there. More of the story falls under the expenditures. Our salaries are still running under our budget and actually under where we were last year. And again, some of the reasons for this, one of the items was that even in the beginning, the last July, we had a 1-week pay for our 12-month employees, which may not seem like that much, but it just meant that we had just because of calendar creep. It added, for the prior year, it added 300,000 in payroll costs to the beginning part of the year. So when you look at a comparison, you might wonder, why are we so far under? It's kind of a timing difference, and it will catch up. And also we, of course, are not utilizing substitute teachers as much. So there's savings there. And another funny little thing that I looked into today was that we actually had 13 teachers elect the 26 pay option, which is where they get a big pay at the end to carry them through the summer. And when you do that, you receive less of your pay during the course of the year. And that actually made a difference of about $162,000. So there's some reasons why you might look at it and wonder, why are the salaries down? But some of it's really just seriously a timing difference. So we really are on track, on budget, to expend all of those salaries. The benefits, though, that's true good news. Our healthcare costs continue to trend under where we were last year. And as of the end of February, comparing it to last February, there is about a $1 million decrease in costs. So that really is the big news. And then just other items, there's a little bit less spending in supplies, not having the students in every single day, maybe cut back on that. I also have noticed that I've only had to buy about a third as much copy paper as I usually do. So I didn't even buy a whole truckload this year. That's really the main points that I came across with when I looked at this. Are there any questions on the report?
With reference to the decrease in healthcare costs, is that probably because doctors and dentists and healthcare providers were not allowing for appointments for a period of time during the closure? And do we anticipate that that is actually going to increase in the immediate future?
You know, it's hard to say, but also there were a lot of, we already felt a lot of that last school year, because April, May, and June, there were fewer surgeries and elective surgeries and elective procedures taking place. So we actually experienced some of that in the prior school year. So that there could be some pent-up demand, but I would think that it's starting to catch up now. I just think that the healthcare, when we talk to our broker, our consultant firm, ENV, there are just some years are a little bit better, a little bit worse than other years. So hoping that this trend does continue.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting, thank you, Kathy, when you compare July 1 of 19 through like February of 19, so pre-pandemic, we were significantly higher in our expenditures, which resulted in a year where it never came down. This year, if you compare July 1 to the present, I think the report, Jerry, did it go through January, right? Or February, January. We are significant. We are dead on to projections. We're about, it's 98.9, I think it was. 100% would mean we were exactly on budget. We're actually a little bit under on our, and last year at this time, we were at like 126%. So in other words, we were over. So it's interesting. It's a great question, Dave, because I would have thought the same thing. But when you compare last year to this year, it's a different trend. So, we're watching it very close. We've been waiting. When it just came out last week, I said to Jerry, it's like, all right, we're looking pretty good so far. So please, but Jerry, anything you'd add to that?
Yes, our healthcare costs are down in part, at least, because we have fewer high cost situations compared to last year. And actually our dental costs currently are higher because last year the dental offices were closed and currently everybody's in catch-up mode. So we've actually seen an increase in the dental costs for this year. We're actually just slightly above what has been budgeted, but our healthcare costs are overall are under what was budgeted.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the general financial summary for February? Alrighty. I'm going to take us back because there was one more slide, but it's probably the best way for me to close. We're hoping next week that we'll have the receipt of the final budget. I would like for a discussion, President Griffin, I would like to have the board consider an April 6th budget workshop. The reason for that is we should have hopefully clarity next week, and then my team would be meeting on the 5th. We've allocated a large chunk of that day to really dig in and put together a presentation of the most up-to-date information and for the budget for discussion at a budget workshop on the 6th, if you'd like. And then we have a budget committee that we did put tentatively for that group on the 8th. And then we could come back to the Board of Education regular business meeting on the 13th. And then in the event that we have any questions, curveballs, things we want readjusted, board says we'd like you to go back and do this, we could, as in our calendar, we could schedule a special board meeting for ratification of the budget on April 20th. But that's a suggestion and up for the board's consideration.
I will ask my colleague, if you can show me with your friend if you're good with a budget workshop on the 6th, that would be helpful. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of us say yes, so that would be a go.
And is it your pleasure that it's at 6 or 6:30?
Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Either's fine for me.
You want to go with 6 p.m. and I can't remember at our budget parameter workshop, and I have to look, did we streamed that as well? Didn't we not? I can't remember. I believe we did.
Yes.
Yep. So we would do that stream just as we have been as well. So we will plan on the budget workshop April 6th at 6 p.m. And with that, that's the conclusion of the budget report as well as the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to ask my colleagues to circle back with me for a minute because I skipped over item 1.04. So if we could catch that before I move forward.
Move it.
Second. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Perry, I'm a yes.
Mr. Cordell?
Yes.
Excuse me. Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mrs. Albagore?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cooper?
I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the last meeting.
All right, moving forward. Item 4.01, please.
Move it.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Carrie, I'm a yes.
Mr. Cordell?
Yes.
Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mrs. Albagore?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
My colleagues, would you like to batch items 5.01 through 5.2? Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on any of these items? Okay, Mrs. Perry, I'm a yes.
Mr. Cordell?
Yes.
Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mrs. Albagore?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Item 6.01.
Move it.
Second. Any discussion? Mrs. Perry, I'm a yes.
Mr. Cordell?
Yes.
Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mrs. Albagore?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
I'm a yes.
Would you like to batch 7.01 through 7.06? Move it.
Second.
Any discussion or questions on any of these items? Mrs. Perry, I'm a yes.
Mr. Cordell?
Yes.
Mr. DeJalorme?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall,
Yes.
Mrs. Alvagore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Board form. Mr. Cordone, I'm gonna start with you. You're your top center for me tonight.
Oh my gosh. I'm just enjoying the weather. Wish I could enjoy some of the athletic contests that are going on, but I know that that's not possible in person. But I'm just pleased with, wanted to say as a parent of students in our music program, I have obviously 2 at the high school, and what was said tonight was very accurate about the dedication of our staff and the experience that our district provides to our students in the way of music education. And I'm grateful for the opportunities that we're able to support and provide to them and the dedication of their teachers. And that's all I have.
Thank you. And let's see, next on my screen, Mr. Crandall.
Oh, just thanks for the presentations. Things seem to be going well. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. DeJalorme.
Yes. I just have one question, it may have already been discussed at a previous meeting, but I missed it. And that is, has there been a final plan after the break going back as far as distancing with the students?
Yeah, we're continuing. We're actually continuing on with our 6 feet plan, the way we've been doing things. It's interesting. I saw something come up with DOH. There's still some questions out there with Oswego County and some others. But anyway, what we'll do is we're replicating. So in other words, our 4-day week elementary will be a 5th day. Mm-hmm. Our 3rd day will, if you're in AA, for example, on the 5th, the A students will be coming in on Monday, and then AA, BB, and then the following Monday will be the B. We're monitoring our numbers extremely closely. We have seen a relatively flat at the high school, not really an increase coming in. We have seen an increase at the elementary level, a trickle coming back in. We designed this model at 70%, so we're monitoring that very closely. I think if there's anything, increasing, back up there. And then our middle school has been kind of in the middle of the high school and the elementary. We've seen about, I think I'd have to ask, but I knew we had about 20 kids in the last 2 weeks. So we're monitoring that very closely. I think, as we reopen, I think consistency is key. I think routines are key. But again, we also will continue to monitor on a daily basis. We actually watch the numbers every day. I'm constantly asking the principals just what are they seeing? What are the trends wise? Dan knows I ask about the numbers every single day. And we're looking at that. Obviously, 3 feet, no shields, no barriers. There's a lot of different things out there right now. So again, we're monitoring closely, but we're looking to re-engage on the 5th, which is ahead of some districts adding some kids. So right now, that's what we're doing. So we're not changing that, but we do know that we have some classrooms where we could add some if we needed to, or we could consider that. But right now, we're monitoring. We have seats at each grade level at this point in time. So
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mrs. Cooper.
Sure. So first I wanted to start out with special thanks to Mr. Cole. I know certainly that my family is very excited about Brambleheart. We always look forward to this time of year, and we can't wait to dive in. So thank you so much for everything you're doing for our district. It's very appreciated. I just wanted to say congrats to our music students and all their achievements despite this pandemic and all the challenges they've faced are highly impressive. And a special thanks to our music teachers and our special area teachers as well, how creative they've gotten. I've been able to see with, my own children, there are creative ways to get them engaged. I can hear my kids listening to videos, and they brought home a recorder and they like to practice that. And but it's great to see the kids really engaged despite the challenges. I also need to give a shout out to our technology department. I got roped into talking to a rep from Rutgers today, and specifically about students and the technology and the connectivity issues that they've been facing this year. And I shared with them a little bit of what our district has done with the connectivity, and they were highly impressed. Very few students or very few school districts that we're able to provide this to our students. So a big shout out to our technology department. And my last thing is, I'm not sure if this is great for Mr. Palvino or Mr. Carroll, but I know a while back we did another student survey and we had some open-ended questions, and I was just curious about those results to maybe see if we could get a presentation on that, or the board can actually get a copy of the comments as well. That would be really great to have moving forward. And that's it, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Applegore.
Yes. I can't wait to go and listen to the music link on our webpage, because I was very saddened not to be able to hear that wonderful talent that I know just comes right out of our students over at the high school level. I agree with Dave. We have some really talented kids over there, and our teachers, our music teachers, are very dedicated to making a wonderful music program for our kids. So that's how this is one of my favorite months out of the whole year, is the music and our school month. Thank you for the updates on the presentations. I did have a question from a couple of parents, Mr. Palvino. I know that we're going to start out and see how things go once April break is over, but they're wondering if there's a possibility, or if we're looking into a possibility of maybe bringing our older kids back 5 days a week if it goes well. Is there any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we'll monitor when we get out of the blocks. As I said, I think we're running, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're right around 58 to 60% of our high school kids are actually in person. We're right around 40%. That number, if you remember, came down. It was around 68%. So we have some space to increase. I think we're looking at that. We'll monitor that closely. I know that that's a possibility, Brenda. I think at the same time, we don't want to make multiple adjustments as we go down the road here. So I think that's important. The other piece is, as I've been paying attention as much as I can to what other places are doing, I was on the phone with a superintendent, not from our county, about something else. And I was commenting, we've had an uptick about 10 to 11 days after every break, whether it's after Halloween, whether it was after Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, always about 11 days. Even after February break, we saw an uptick literally 10 days later. I said that to Mr. Els. I'm like, must be the 10th day. And it was. And so, and a number of that district I talked to, they're not going back till April 26th. So there's a lot of going on. So for us, hopping in on the 5th, I think that'll be a good barometer for us, and we'll monitor things very closely. And that would be the answer. I think we're going in with a good plan, and let's see where we get in the next couple of weeks, and we go from there. But I think making more adjustments toward the end of the year, kids are also in routines as well. So we have to be careful with that as well.
Okay, well, I just wanted to throw it out there.
That's a great question.
We're asking, so
yep.
Thank you very much, and get out there and enjoy the warm weather while it lasts.
All right, thank you. Well, a lot of things have been noted tonight. The music students always entertain, and so I too look forward to seeing that video. I miss the fact that people can't all come together for those spring concerts and plays and the things that we're normally doing this time of year as winter starts to recede. I want to thank Mr. Els for everything you've done with the sports. And I know it's been a lot with all the changes, and you in particular have many, many changes you're constantly dealing with. And a special shout out and thank you for your leadership working with the Department of Health. I hear nothing but continued compliments from community members who have taken advantage of the vaccinations at our school. And they're so grateful that they didn't have to travel far. So again, I want you to know that, and that all of the efforts that yourself and others have put forth have meant a lot to our community members. I want to thank you, Superintendent Palvino, for taking a moment to celebrate our achievements. We haven't spent much time on that because we seem to be in crisis mode, or sharing information about crisis intervention or what we're doing. So I appreciate that we talked about some of the successes that we have been seeing even during this pandemic. A lot of folks are working very hard. That would be staff, students, and administrators trying to make the best out of a bad situation. And we know it's not perfect. And we know that not everyone's gotten what we would like for them to have gotten out of this year. But then again, some of them we've done better than we expected in a lot of areas. So I'm grateful for that. Let's see. I think that sums it up for me. And I have to say, I'm so thrilled that Mrs. Witter came tonight and finally announced that we can start reading. I'm looking forward to it. It's been very hard to sit here with it in my little hands and not open it up, but I have to. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, with that, I don't know if Sam has been able to join us or not. I just want to do a double check before I sign out. I wouldn't want to miss him. I don't know if he was able to join us.
Take a quick look. I saw Reagan on here. Let me see.
Yes, I do too.
I do not see him on the list.
So there may have been a conflict. I don't know. But all right. With that said, I am going to ask the board to close this portion. Well, not close this portion, but to move to executive session. So would someone move items 8.02, please?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? So after a 5-minute break, the board's going to come back and we're going to take care of some business that has to occur in executive session. And after that, we'll come out and formally close the meeting. I thank those of you that are watching this evening. We do appreciate you taking the time to join us. And we appreciate the fact that all of you folks go back out in the community and share what you learned here tonight. And we are also grateful for helping us with communication. So have a great evening. Enjoy that great weather. I'll see you all in 5 minutes.
Rob.
I'm so glad you're here tonight. I'm really loose tonight. Would someone move 8.02?
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Mrs. Perry.
Okay. Mr. Cordone?
Yes.
Mr. DeJarme?
Yes.
Mr. Crandall?
Yes.
Mrs. Albacore?
Yes.
And Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Dom, will you when we
Okay, I think we're back.
I'm not sure if is Tim down there yet? Can you get us a green
I
light?
see his little icon.
Oh, I don't have him.
Usually there's two, so let me just make sure he's good to go.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I see his one. We're good. Thank you.
All righty. Would someone move item 8.03, please?
Move it.
Is there a second?
Second.
I don't know who you got.
I got Brenda and Fallon. How's that sound?
Okay.
And all those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. 600. And it is 8:28. Enjoy the good weather. Tim, good luck with your dad.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, Tim.
My best to you and your family.
Thank you.
And enjoy the good weather, everybody, and stay healthy. And I'll see you at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Bye now.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, where am I here?